Okay, so this is Nomad Nights, the recap episode. This is a sci-fi modern day superhero type D&D sort of RPG, but not really because it's an original untested system and the story is unfinished. So we're just improvising all the way. I am your GM, Z. Your players, they can introduce themselves, current players.
You first.
Hello there, I'm Red.
His player
Hi, I'm
character is
Rose.
Jason.
I'm
Yeah.
Yep,
Rose, and I
forgot to
play the
mention.
character. Or I'm Brew, playing the character Rose.
Yep. And Red plays the character Jason. So this is meant to recap episodes what we call 0 through episode 2, which covers like why did it just get so quiet? Whatever. It covers like months worth of gameplay, a couple months. It's like 20 hours. And yeah, it's just a lot, and those videos weren't great quality. They were mainly just for me to keep track of what was going on. So I'm just gonna do the recap, and this will be your jumping off point for anyone watching this in the future. So I'll just start with the opening monologue from episode 0, and it'll probably really be the only one. At the edge of an unknown universe, a type of energy from a dimension that has never interacted with our own explodes into existence. The radiant, burning orb eclipses galaxies and contains a consciousness made of interconnected spectrums of extra universal energy. They exile me for trying to extend my existence. All of us could have benefited if they'd supported my plan. What are these foreign dimensions? What is this new stimulus? These particles and energies connect and interweave into these strange constructs. Perhaps I can understand these phenomena. Yes, I can see the patterns. There is a form of order to these dimensions. This system is large, but I must try to manipulate it to create the reactions I require. Yes, it can be done. I will sustain myself somehow. This exile will not prevent my goals. I will let no entity deter me. And then we cut to Eastern Canada with our player character Rose, who is going out for grocery shopping one day. She sees some kid steal a woman's purse, and she decides to give chase and try and stop him, and catches him like really easily. Sends him, grabs him by the shoulder, kind of lets his legs go flying out from under him. And he's begging to be let go. He's like, I'm hungry. I just want some food, man. She takes pity on him, takes the purse from him, and gives him some money from food, and sends him on his way. At which point he'll tell her his name is Derek, and she'll return the purse and let the kid scamper off after he gives her instructions where she can find him because he owes her one now. Then after that, she'll head home, and I'd say around like 10:30 that night before going to bed, she's gonna witness a meteor shower and think it's a little weird because there was no reports or anything about this coming on the news, and they're usually somewhat predictable. So about an hour after that, 11:30, she's gonna be woken up by a little vampire bat that starts attacking her, and it's a little metal vampire bat, which is another layer of confusing. He tries to fight it off unsuccessfully, throwing stuff at it, but it keeps disappearing and reappearing. Looks like it can teleport. Then eventually it's gonna bite her, and things go downhill from there. Now we cut to what is it, Chicago? And our other player character, Jason, is having much the same problem. He was chilling at his home by himself, working in his little workshop garage, crafting different tools and weapons for himself for fun. And one of these little bats invaded his home and tried to bite him up. But Jason wasn't having any of that, and he fought it for a little bit, and then got tossed around with its telekinetic abilities. And then's like, I don't want to fight this thing. So he got on his motorcycle and decided to dip and outran the thing for about 5 hours in game and like an hour out of game. Till eventually it caught up to him at a hotel and bit him up after making him freeze up somehow with some sort of telepathy. So after that, it would be the third player character, or technically second, because Jason is the newest one, who no longer is playing with us. Uh, his name was Khan. His player character's name was Rick. He was also in the Eastern Canada area, driving in his little Fiat 500, trying to find a new home for himself. And the bat came to him too, except he wasn't paying any attention because he was watching anime on his phone. And then the bat bit him up, and he tried to fight it. He did the worst out of everybody. Eventually just gave up and let the thing bite him, and then went back to watching anime. And with all of our characters after the bats bit them, they would scamper away and then burst into flames that would change colors through all the different colors of the visible light spectrum: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And that kind of scarred some of our characters a little bit. You guys can talk a little bit if you want. I know I'm trying to speed run this, but we're making decent time.
I just have a lot of background noise going on.
Oh, okay. But after that, they would learn that they had some superhuman powers the next morning. If you guys want to say what they are, you can, and then I'll just say Rick's.
Red.
I started off with. Oh, you can go first.
No, I was saying red, like, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I started off with my first power, casuality manipulation, or as Mr. Hoster, he likes to call it causality, for short.
That's
What
because
that
it's
means,
pronounced causality.
I don't think anybody says that, to be fair, but
Everyone
yeah.
says that. Forget it. Keep going.
Okay, well, so, pretty much what my power means is that I get to defy most rules of the world, the universe, the galaxy, you name it, whatever. Rules of life, rules of time, rules of physics. The first rule I defied was physics by unbreaking a potato chip that I had just broken. And when it unbroke, I decided to do the best thing anybody ever would do. I ate that chip right up, because who wouldn't?
Yeah. It basically lets him say
So,
yes and no to events if he is able to do it properly, because all of them have to roll to see if they have enough, basically, energy to get their powers to work properly.
yeah, but it comes at a cost at a later date every time I use my power.
We will see what that cost is later.
Yeah. This actually kind of works like the smaller event I use it on, the smaller-ish the consequence will be, so
I
on and so
haven't
forth.
I haven't confirmed that, but yeah, basically.
Well, that's what it says in the description, but yeah.
All right. What else you got? What's your other powers?
I also have telekinesis, which allows me to move stuff with, my mind, and kind of like, think of Star Wars The Force, that stuff. Yeah, everybody knows telekinesis. And I also have telepathy, which can allow me to read minds and talk to people from my mind to their mind. And not just people, I can also hear other things, thoughts, and talk to other things mentally as well, from mind to mind.
It's also to some extent to mind control. I
Yeah.
was wondering what you're talking about. It's like, what do you mean, not just people? And then I remembered Basement Lady, which we'll get into later. But and his last power is super senses like touch, taste, smell,
Yeah.
hearing, all that, which he didn't really pick for himself until like later episodes, so it's not really relevant until then. But he was fairly
Yeah.
OP until then. All right, Rose, you're up.
Okay, so for my character Rose, I have time and space manipulation via portals. I have pocket dimension, which is a space outside of space and time that is probably about the size of a large garage, where I'm able to enter, spend time in, and store whatever I need in. It's also a portal. Then I have immortality, which in this context is basically I will not succumb to disease and I do not age.
Yep.
And I have, I'm gonna call it indestructibility.
Yeah. Enhanced durability, all that stuff. You've only
Okay.
literally used it one time in the entire game, so
So far, so far.
so far. Rose unfortunately rolls like a freaking luck dragon or something. It's stupid. Alright. So, after they discover their abilities over time, because Jason didn't join the session until a bit later, Rose and Rick kind of discover more stuff. They find these more bats show up, and the second set of bats do their bursting into flame thing, except they transform into wristwatch like devices that don't so much help them use their power, but it kind of simplifies it. Like with the watches, they can track other people who have abilities, even though they can kind of do that without the watches, but it hasn't been explained as much. And it also just kind of shows them how much energy they have left to use their abilities, even though they can more or less tell that on their own just by the feeling of it. And after getting their watches, they also got another bat that transformed into something completely different. Transformed into a little
Boba!
robot pine marten, yes. That Rose made her pet and named it Boba. And she has made him her little robot baby thing. So after all this, Rose and Rick were the first two to meet up because they were roughly in the same area. And then they ended up going back to Rose's house to try and figure out some more stuff. And the next morning, Boba basically alerted them to a burning building nearby by hacking into police scanners and giving them the information, basically. At that point, Rick gave Rose a ride. This is too many R and J names. Ride to this burning building.
Hmm.
And let her in, or like let her out, and it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that because it just seems dangerous. Oh, at this point I should say too, Rick's abilities were super strength, super speed, super durability like Rose, and then thermokinesis, so he has the ability to like heat up or cool down any form of matter basically. So it'd be like either a microwave effect almost, or I guess the reverse of that. And he's like, nah, I'm not interested. Wasn't really interested in anything. He's like, I don't care about these powers or whatever. I just want to do my own thing. So Rose ran into the burning building, saved three people, and suspected it was arson. So she did a little investigating, try and find the arsonist. Tried to get Boba to help her, but she couldn't quite track him. And when she got done with all that, Rick was gone. He pieced out. He just left her. And then after that, she met with the owner of the burnt down restaurant, whose name was Michael. And he suspected that the arsonist was his daughter Maxine's angry ex boyfriend, who, after she talked to Maxine, discovered his name was Frank, or so he said. And she went out of her way to try and track him down to make him pay for his fiery crimes. So after going to his house to try and get clues. She found out his little abandoned shack hideout in the woods, tracked that down, found some more evidence of him starting the fire, and then he went to the shack, and she confronted him by using space and time manipulation and just bull rushing him right out of the shack. Just straight up jump scaring him. And then she grappled him, they fought for a little bit. He didn't even get off a single hit. And she knocked him out and tied him up and called an Uber because Rick had gone missing and threw him in the back and brought him to the cops. At which point they confirmed his name was actually Francis Bernard. He told everyone it was Frank Burton because it's embarrassing. And that pretty much sums up episode 0. 0.5 is how Rose and Jason meet up, which is after Jason uses his causality manipulation for the first time. Rose basically detects like a crack in like the fabric of the universe because Jason did something he wasn't supposed to. And she tries to detect that, reaches out with her space and time manipulation to try and discover the source of this crack. So whatever it's called, and basically just yoinks Jason from Colorado, or not Colorado, from Chicago with the portal, along with like his motorcycle and half of
And a bunch
his
of his tools.
garage, a bunch of his tools. And she rolled a nat 20 for that, because that is like really beyond the range of her abilities right now. Usually she can only open portals to like line of sight. So she did that, talked to Jason, they explained what was going on. He accused her of being a witch, and displayed his mistrust of Boba and all the other robot animals. So after kind of,
Except for RT.
oh, we haven't, RT hasn't shown up yet at this point. So after that, she explained the situation. She was actually on her way to confront Rick for leaving. At this point, the player of Rick was gone, so I was just like doing it myself, just to like get rid of his character, basically, write him out of the story. So they tracked down Rick's new little homestead that he was coming to Canada to build and live on his own. And she got mad because he didn't want to help with the fires or any of the other stuff. So she beat him up a little bit. And then they noticed a ring on their watch, whereas all the humans with powers show up as circles. There was a ring and a few other rings all around, like the world basically. And she wanted to know what it was, so they got Rick to help them with it, and found out it was a giant praying mantis about the size of a forklift. They worked together, they killed the thing. After it died, kind of like the,
Scavenge it.
yeah, well, before that, after it died, like the, flames that were like, spectrum rainbow color came off the thing, was absorbed into their watches, and then shot up into the sky. And then they scavenged from it. And then Rick tried to burn the body, or he did burn the body, get rid of any evidence. And then it lit up on rainbow fire again and disappeared for good. But before that, they did scavenge the like the blades on its arms to make two
Mandibles.
swords. No, not mandibles. They're what are they called? Raptorial limbs to craft two swords for
And their head.
themselves. What? What?
I kept the head, remember?
Oh yeah, and she kept the head as a trophy. Because of course she did. After that, they decided they were gonna try and go around and stop these big old mutant animals from killing people, and try and help people where they could. So they quote unquote aggressively bargained for Rick's car and left him with an electric bike to get around. Drove it towards Toronto because that was where the next ring were, and then got in a fight with another ring, which was a bobcat that was the size of the moose, a size of a moose, and actually did a really decent job. This thing was tough, but they didn't even get hit, and they only just barely got their car damaged during the fight. At which point the Bobcat ran off, and then they met the twins, who are Kaede and Taro, who offered to help them out because they own a mechanic shop. So after leading them back to the shop, they helped the twins clean up the building in exchange for a discount with fixing up their car, and then offered to basically be their entourage to a party the next day, which turns out was actually a street racing event because the twins are street racers. They were told to not cause a scene. Rose complied. Jason did not. Started a fight with a rival clique who are kind of enemies of Kaede and Taro. The leader's name is Kason. Jason insulted his car, which was like a gaudy,
Trust fund
horrible.
babies.
Yeah, the trust fund baby clique. Jason like spit on his car, which was a gaudy, awful, horrible, like lime green yellow 2023 Chevy Corvette, like a Z06 or whatever it's called. And the twins were about to start a fight, but Rose, what is it? Diffused the situation by challenging Case into a street race. The twins were nervous
For
about
titles.
for titles, yeah. Because Kaede, the main driver of the two, drives a 2016 Ford Focus RS, which is fast, but not as fast as a Corvette. But thanks to Rose and Jason riding with her and using their powers to make Kayson's car swerve, and then Jason just telekinetically punching him in the nuts. They managed to win the
Efficiency.
race. Yeah. And they won a car, which was not at all the plan for the episode, but they did it. So afterwards, they celebrated their winnings, went back to the garage with the twins. Oh, I should say, what's his name? Derek, the little street kid that Rose let go, came with them during all of this. She met him a couple times previously in episode 0 and decided she's going to take him with him on their adventure. And
He's
he
my
was there
child.
as well. Yes, that. She basically adopted him. And during their time at the garage, they basically revealed their abilities to the twins, put some trust in them, and also accidentally revealed their abilities to Derek, which caused a bit of stress for the little dude, but Rose managed to calm him down and explain the situation better. What is it? Oh, at the end of the first street race, a bit of a eccentric man named Carter Robinson showed up, stated that he loved seeing the races, and promised a, what was it, $4 million? Or was it
$2
$2 million?
million.
$2 million reward for another street race that he was going to put on. So the twins spent time preparing for that. The group learned a little more about the powers, did some sparring. Jason gave Rose a black eye, crafted some new weapons for themselves as well, and got ready for the race. And then the night of the race, the twins showed up with their car that they'd won from Kaysen, and they discovered that the race was going to take place in an area close to where the giant mutant bobcat was, so they had to intervene. Jason went ahead to try and keep an eye on it, and Rose rode in the car with Kaede again as backup. Jason kind of just stood there and watched the bobcat. It did eventually get alerted by all the race cars driving by where it was like sleeping, but Jason tried to intercept it. He fought it in the road for a little bit, and the cars did drive by it, but they were too focused on the race to really like stop and take it in. So they just kind of saw a giant, maybe moose-looking thing fighting some guy in the road. So secrets were not really exposed. After winning the race, Kaede and Taro went back to help Jason fight the Bobcat, but he was doing pretty well on his own. He was on his motorcycle just like freaking Akira sliding around the thing and like hitting it with his weapons and whatnot. And then after that, they defeated the Bobcat. They didn't have to kill it. They learned that if they were able to basically blast it with a specific ability that every player character with powers has, that they can basically turn it back into a regular Bobcat and drain the energy out of it, which again goes into their watch and shoots into the sky. No explanation on that yet. Afterwards, they use the prize money to purchase more supplies and vehicles for themselves so that they can continue on their adventures. They say their goodbyes to the twins, saying that they'll keep in touch with them, maybe see them in the future. And they head to New York, which is where the next ring is, where they also are going to meet Rose's friend Jordan, who they'd been in contact with, and had also been bitten by another one of these little robot vampire bats and got abilities of his own. So, meeting up with them in New York. Also, Jordan is basically my player character who I just kind of have backseat game, I guess, or just kind of chill in the background because I wanted to play the game too, but I'm the GM, so I have to just kind of do my own thing. And his abilities are electromagnetic manipulation, regeneration, intangibility through like basically phasing into a like parallel dimension, and then super stretching like a he's basically like Mr. Fantastic. He's basically just like a living symbiote that can like phase and shoot lightning and control magnetic stuff. So they meet up with him in New York. He also bought vehicles using some of the prize money that they sent his way. He also faked his own death before leaving his home state of Delaware. Because he's like, we got superpowers. I'm paranoid. The government's gonna like track us down, which may be true, maybe not true. We'll see. But yeah, he used his regeneration to basically crash his car and fake his own death. So they all meet up in New York to find these rings as well as another dot, which is another person. They decide to go after the person first and meet a woman who is completely covered in like hoodies or like a big hoodie and black sweatpants, trying to hide her identity, chilling on the roof of a building in New York near Central Park, which is weird. They send one of their new pets, RT the Robot Raven, who is Jason's robot pet that showed up back in Toronto with the twins, who he does not trust at all, to try and communicate with this woman, which freaks her out because it's a freaking talking raven. She runs off. They chase her, they catch her eventually, and basically try and convince her to team up with them to fight off these baby kaiju, as they're now called, the mutant animals. She does not seem interested. Uh, she just kind of runs away from them, even though they explain that they can track her using the watch. She doesn't believe them. She goes on in like epic parkour chase with no one chasing her. They decide to just wait until she stops running. And after a little bit, she returns to the same area, and they find out she was trying to break into a jewelry store. They confront her at this. Rose tries to convince her to not steal. Jason encourages her to steal. And Jordan is repeatedly swayed back and forth between both sides. So eventually, Rose just pays her the money that she said she required from the heist. She still takes a little bit, but not as much. And they leave after Jordan sets off the alarms and they make their escape. Oh, God. How much time do we have left? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's been 30 minutes already. You guys good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... Alright, we're making time. I had to take a second to breathe. Alright. The new woman who... What? Did you guys know her name at this point or no?
She revealed it when we offered to give her a ride.
Oh, yeah. At this point, the woman reveals her name to be Lyra. No, you didn't know her powers at this point. She gives them directions where to go. They take her back to a brothel. At what point she gives the money that Rose gave her to the like head pimp, Madame Lotus, and she makes the point that like with this money that she should be like free and not have to work for anymore. And of course, Madame Lotus gives her another job, implying that no, you're not done until I say you're done. And the job is to steal an exotic pet, which Lyra begrudgingly accepts. And the group hears this by RT, the robot Raven, spying on them. RT is Jason's pet. He showed up when they were in Toronto with the twins at the garage. I just
You
left
already
that
said
out.
that.
I did. Oh yeah, I did. I didn't. I don't know if I said he was a Raven.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Yeah, he's a little robot Raven. Jason hates him. And he spied on Lyra while she was having her conversation in this building. I think they did reveal that they knew this information and offered to help,
Yes.
basically. A little bit after that, Lyra explained her abilities, which are super strength, super speed, super durability, and basically poison. Not manipulation, but what's the word? Sequestration?
Metabolizing.
Yeah, metabolizing poison and excreting it. So any toxic substance that she eats will have no effect on her, and she just sweats it out basically. And she can use that. She'll put it on darts and like throw it at people. So she's immune to like any poison or toxin. And at that point, they decided that they were gonna basically burn this uh Madame Lotus for screwing with Lyra. They're like, yeah, we're gonna get her an exotic animal and then call the cops on her. And then they plan their next heist by stealing this thing from a illegal exotic animal smuggler warehouse. Which, and when they got there, immediately after like opening or not opening the door, everything just went sideways. It was supposed to be stealth. Jordan was tired because they didn't get enough sleep, and he blasted the door open with lightning and then ran in and they started
Went
fighting.
full rampage.
Yeah. The group fought against four goons, did an okay job except for Lyra, who was getting boxed out. And then eventually they defeated everyone except for the goon who was fighting Lyra, who for a short time managed to take on Lyra and Jason at the same time. But then Jason got sick of it and telekinetically threw a metal gauntlet at him and knocked him out. And then they decided to pick out this exotic animal from Madame Lotus. They're like, yeah, we just gotta find something exotic and illegal so that she gets it, and then we leave and call the cops on her. They picked a sugar glider, which is not illegal in New York, so that part of the plan didn't actually work. But I mean, they still called the
We
cops
also
on her, and it's still a
we
brothel.
also took animals.
Yeah, we took the actual illegal animals and gave her a regular pet. But
We took a savannah cat.
yep, we
We
took a
took
savannah
a
cat.
blue ring octopus, and
Yep,
then
for
a
Lyra
sea
to
bunny.
use. And a sea bunny, which is like a sea slug that has like little, uh, what are they called? Antenna that look like bunny ears. But they took those as pets for themselves. And before leaving, they discovered a big old locked door that was like suspiciously secure for this area. And that's when everything really went sideways. Jason, being ever curious, decided that he wanted to try and see what was on the other side of the door and started telepathically communicating with it. At around that time, Jordan noticed that whatever was behind the door showed up on their watches as half of a ring and half of a circle, which at the time was unknown because humans show up as like complete circles, animals show up as rings, the robot animals show up as semi rings, and whatever's on the other side of this door was half of a circle and half of a ring. So, not Jordan. Jason was being curious. He kept talking to the thing like verbally and telepathically. They discovered it was allegedly a woman, quote unquote, and wanted to be let out of that cage because it was in a big metal box behind a big metal door. Uh, when trying to interrogate the smugglers, they just said that they had received the box from their boss and been told not to open it and defeat her. They didn't listen, and she shortly escaped one of them and attacked one of them, but they managed to get her back in the box. Through the entire conversation with Jason and the other members of the group, this thing is giving off like tons of red flags. Like when asked what it would do if it let out, it would say survive, and then when asked what survival meant, it replied feed and reproduce. So eventually, Jason came to his senses and said, "Let's not let this thing out." So they decided that they were gonna bury it behind some rubble, which they used their powers to do, and just let the thing die down there. And then they went on their way and took the sugar glider for Madame Lotus back to the brothel, at which point Lyra gave it to her and tried to use that to bargain for her freedom. Madame Lotus refused and tried. They basically had her goons try to capture Lyra. The group intervened. Jordan EMP'd like the entire block to make it dark because this was at night, and Jason used his like heightened senses because he's got night vision and a pair of night vision goggles to give to Rose. So they just Splinter Cell snuck their way into the building, beat up the goons, rescued Lyra, and made their way out. At which point, Jordan's powers had recharged because all of the powers have a cooldown, and he walked into the building, fumbled his way around the dark, popped two smoke grenades, told Madame Lotus to screw himself, and then blasted her in the chest with two nat 20s of lightning. Like a nat 20 to basically charge the power, and a nat 20 to use it. So it was an auto hit for max damage. And all her and her goons could see was this big old figure in a gas mask surrounded by black and red smoke before she got lightning blasted. And then he left. And they went back to their little RV camp outside the city. So it's what was it? The next day, they went back in the city to look for these rings. Lyra informed them about this other black market that might have other weird stuff, like the woman in the box in the basement. Did we go to the black market first with Enoch, or did we go to Basement Woman first? No, we went to Enoch first, right?
Yes, we went to Enoch
Yeah.
and
So,
that whole situation.
oh, that situation. You'll notice Jason causes a lot of situations. So after that, they went to a bar to get information on a black market. It's kind of like a gimmicky thing. It was called the Masquerade Brewery. Everyone there has to wear masks, so everyone got to basically just wore the mask that they were using throughout their superhero career. Rose has like a Fox Kitsune mask. Jason has like a Red Hood cosplay mask, and Jordan, or not, yeah. Jordan is just wearing like a welder's mask. And then Lyra just had like a little masquerade party mask that she'd been wearing there. Also, what's his name is here?
Zeke.
Is,
We
well,
renamed him.
yeah. Being paranoid about people finding out his identity, even though no one's really looking for him, Rose decided to rename Derek to Zeke, and also Jordan changed his names to Graves since he'd faked his own death. Still his last name. Jordan is his last name, and now he's saying Graves is his last name. I'm not telling you guys his original first name for a little bit is, because it's funnier that way.
Hmm.
Uh, and after getting information at this gimmicky bar and Jason almost causing another scene, they went to this antique shop that turns out to have a black market in the basement of it, run by a single old man who sold them some custom ammunition,
Ammo,
yeah, I think
armor piercing,
armor
and
piercing and
incendiary.
incendiary rounds. And then they found yet another suspicious door in this black market basement, which Jason just could not let go. And he continued to pester this old man about what was behind the door and what was his deal. And eventually he just said he was gonna use his telepathy
I
to.
I used the clairvoyance thing
Oh yeah, you
too.
did. You looked behind the door with your future sight type thing, and just saw it was a big old jar of mysteriously colored sand, basically. Well, not
Just it was
mysteriously
like
colored, but it
gray.
was.
It
Yeah,
was like gray
yeah, it's
sand.
gray sand, but it was mysterious. And you didn't know what that was, so Jason's like, I'm gonna read this man's mind. And for the first time, someone actually resisted his telepathy, and then freaking death glared at Jason, told everyone to leave, and then at that point we decided we should, after Jason put his hand on this old man's shoulders and realized he was very buff. And on our way out, he actually ran out and attacked us with a big old plasma rifle, which is not normal because this is modern day. Like the only uh high high tech sci-fi elements so far have been us with our powers. Well, this man's got a big old plasma musket looking thing and attacked the group as they were driving away. Rose managed to swerve out of the way of the shots and pull down an alleyway before getting out and negotiating with this man not to try and murder us anymore. At which point he calmed down when he realized that we weren't actually after him specifically and led us back into the black market antique shop and basically explained that he was an alien, quote unquote, not really, kind of, sort of. Basically, he was a spy for some unknown extra universal faction. He did confirm that he was not from our own universe. He did say he was born human. Jordan basically did like an electromagnetic scan of him, discovered he was a cyborg, and he just said that he was from some unknown faction that goes around conquering planets, and his purpose was a spy to find new planets. But after coming to Earth, he decided that he didn't want to do that and would rather just live there in peace, and made his own life there and has just been doing his thing ever since. And he also gave the group some stuff to get out of his hair, basically. Like he gave them, what is it? Jason and Jordan both alien technology. He gave Jason a pistol that shoots kinetic energy, as well as a shield that connects to the pistol that absorbs the kinetic energy. And he gave Jordan basically a big stun baton that absorbs electricity and like can have it flow through the baton to shock people. Ooh, excuse me. And he basically wrote.
Lear, Lyra and I opted out of getting alien tech weapons.
Yeah, they didn't want them because Rose deduced that the only reason he was giving these weapons to us is to basically throw anyone looking for him off of his trail to have them follow us. Because while he wasn't openly hostile, he wanted nothing to do with the group. He's like, you guys do your thing, don't bother me. And he revealed that, like, he knew that the meteor shower was the cause of the bats, as well as all the mutant animals running around. And he did know that they were there, but he didn't know, like, who or what caused them. He just knew of those events and said that it seemed like
He's also the
someone.
one who told us about the four rings, what they
No,
were.
you guys saw the rings.
No, but
You
he
mean what?
explained that he had had a encounter with them.
Uh, Oh yeah, the rats. No, you guys learned they were rats because I screwed up and said they were right before you fought them. I don't think he said that, but yeah, he did say he encountered the mutant creatures and basically stated that because he'd done invasions when working for his unknown faction, that everything that was going on with people getting powers and animals getting powers did not seem like an invasion. I'll just retcon what he said a little bit. It makes more sense. He said it seemed more like an like unruly science experiment by a child, basically. Is more what it seemed like to him because everything was just so random and people were just getting powers left and right and animals were getting mutated left and right.
Time?
What?
Time on
It's
recording?
we're a little over time, but I'm just gonna finish it because we're almost done.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna run
Yeah,
out.
we're at 45 right now. And after that, they left, and he stated that he was basically gonna ghost, like, just pack up all his stuff, leave, because while he didn't think that they were gonna give away his location, he's a spy, he doesn't trust anyone. So he's basically gonna pack up shop and move to some unknown location, which he did not tell the group. And then they decided to make their way to. Oh, before that, Jason was feeling a little guilt because while he didn't want to let the basement lady out, who was some kind of human animal mutant thing, he didn't want to just bury her alive. So he said that they should go back and basically open the box and kill her. Rose just said to burn her alive. He didn't like that, so they decided, or he, what is it? What is the word? Counter suggested that they should just basically kill her with like toxic gas or something, like asphyxiate her. So they bought, what was it, bleach and vinegar, as well as some other supplies. Basically made the box into a kill box and gassed her to death, which made the whole situation just awkward because afterward he was upset, not because he had to kill this thing, because he was more than willing to kill Madame Lotus, but because he considered it cowardly how they killed it.
That was Jordan's idea, by the way, not Jason's.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, everything I just said that applies to Jordan. Jordan was upset and had the idea to kill the thing with gas instead of burning it. And he was upset that they did that because he considered it cowardly, that they were gonna kill this creature in a box without giving it a chance to fight back. But Jason and Rose were fine with it because they were too freaked out by this thing getting out, and they were convinced it was going to like basically conquer the planet if they let it out.
It was.
It admitted that it would eradicate all life.
It didn't say that exactly. It
It
It got close enough
implied
to
that it
say.
was going to eradicate a lot of
exactly,
life. But
exactly. It was going to infinitely reproduce and just
and out
wipe
of
out
game I
fucking
will,
everything.
because they technically don't even know in game, but I just told them out of game because they never opened the box. This was a woman who was like hybridized with a mosquito. Like technically all the players are hybridized with
You guys went to the
something.
box.
What?
You and Jason both went to the box.
Yeah.
We couldn't see anything, it was dark. We saw the box in the dark room, but we like couldn't see anything. But yeah, this was like basically all the characters have their DNA mixed with something, but this was like a woman who was like almost completely like genetically fused with a mosquito to the point of like having its instinct. So she wanted to be free, but she also wanted to make like millions of more mosquito hybrids because she's got the instincts of a mosquito. But that's just something I revealed at a game to them because they never actually opened the box. They just guessed the thing and then killed it, and then they burned
Fuck
the
that.
body. More rainbow fire as this thing's corpse was burned, and they just let that go. What was the other thing? Oh, after that, they finally decided to track down these rings, and Lyra joined them on their quest to stop these things. They tracked it to an abandoned subway tunnel a bit away from Times Square, and found out that these things were giant rats that had been killing the homeless population who were living in these tunnels. And they fought these four, what did I say they were? Horse-sized sewer rats. And Lyra was like seriously injured during the fight, getting close to a status called critically injured because everyone has a start. Like normal humans have a start of 100 health. When they get like 50 health is below, they basically have to like roll to like not die. Like if it was normal D&D, it'd be like a death saving throw. They basically have to do that almost every turn until they're healed up. So 50 health and below is very bad. Lyra got like I think 64 health or so, something like that,
Yes.
and like was terrified and screamed and like ran away, calling them to like retreat, and they did in order to get her help, and killed the rats as they retreat by shooting them with guns that they'd acquired from the animal smugglers after they beat them up and raided the place, as well as letting the rats get hit by a train as they ran away. Basically, it got hit
I
by a
also got
subway
off a
train.
couple of nat 20s
Yeah,
for,
you get off a couple of nat 20s every session.
but
They
I
will
got a
learn.
couple. I got some very good sheds.
Yes, yes, we know you did. Uh, and then after that, they made their way back to their little base camp at the RV park. I believe it's in Brooklyn, and basically made plans for the next part. And Lyra stated that because of, I mean, she didn't say this, but basically because of how terrifying the experience was, she does not want to go with them on any other monster hunting adventures for the foreseeable future, even though she does still want to basically like travel with them because she's got nowhere else to go. Even though she didn't say as much, but it's implied and they can figure out as much. And that was the end of episode 2. Oh, and the only other thing I left out was usually at the end of each episode, I have them like roll detection against these things stealth. They've been being stalked by 7 foot tall mechanical vampire bats that are I mean, obviously the same origin of the small ones that bit them, but usually at the end of every episode, they're just chilling in the distance, just watching and waiting the group for who knows what. But they don't know what they can do. Actually, they do know that these big bats, similarly to how the little bats had the powers that they gave to each character, the big bats also have the powers that each characters have. They're not like remotely close.
At
They're
the
usually very far
at
away
the
just
end,
watching.
we had a really cool scene where they dropped off of like where they were hanging into the one bat's portal. They just like disappeared into it.
Oh yeah. I think that was in episode 2. They were just hanging upside down from a building. Or the end of episode 1. They were hanging upside down from a building and just dropped into the portal. But now, before when it first started in episode 0, first Rose saw one bat, and then after picking up Jason and grouping up with him, the next time they saw 2 bats. And now that they're with Lyra, there are 3 bats, but they guessed because the third bat phased into existence like Jordan does, that they're guessing that it's Jason's abilities, uh, Jordan's abilities, and
Jordan, yeah.
Lyra's and Rose's abilities. One hasn't shown up for Lyra yet, but who knows what could happen. Also meant to say it phases into existence like Jordan does, not Jason. That's a running theme of it, is me getting their names mixed up. So I just really need to just stick to
Yep.
calling Jordan Graves because that's the name he like chose for himself, his new identity anyway. But that's pretty much everything that's happened in episodes 0 to 2, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get together and play episode 3, and it'll be the first one that's posted. Deuces.